Yo, what up, what up, what up? This your homie Tez. What up, my brodies and brodettes out there? Hope you're having a beautiful and blessed day. You know, enjoying. If you're at work, listening to this podcast or listening to this particular segment, or if you're at the gym or chilling at the crib, whatever you're doing, hope you're enjoying yourself. You know, relaxing, listening to this beautiful silky voice of mine. You know, it's been a crazy beginning of the week, just having to do a lot of crap, and making sure I'm organized while I'm doing it. You know how you have like a million things going on in your head and you're trying to figure out how you're gonna like cram it in a week or in however many days you have to do it. That's how I feel right now. I'm like, holy shit, gotta do all this stuff. But okay, anyway, and it's getting cold too. That's never cool. I'm not really big on cold. I like it when it's kind of spring, between spring and fall. And it is going into fall, but I wasn't ready for it. I was not ready for this. This is not what I signed up for. You know, living in the South, I'm pretty much a Southerner. But you know, hope y'all warm out there wherever you're listening to this at. But anyway, I was like really thinking about like a subject I could talk about, and that was like what, maybe 3 or 4 days ago, and I've had to work, and I kind of, you know, put it on a back burner in order to kind of mull over it a little bit, you know, brainstorm about it, you know, what I should talk about, and before you know it, something came up that was like interesting to me. It was Gucci Mane's wedding, and I was like, "Oh, Gucci's getting, you know, he's tying a knot." And I heard about the whole proposal thing. And I checked out the video and everything. It was beautiful, you know, and shout out to him, shout out to Gucci, and shout out to Keisha Kayor, yeah. Shout out to her. You know, that's beautiful. I love seeing love. That's just like, I'm just that type of person. I love seeing people happy. I love seeing people, you know, seemingly in a relationship where there's a connection. You know, Gucci went through what he went through, and then, you know, I guess they were together when Gucci was going through what he was going through. You know, he came out on the other end, you know, healthy and all that, and they got together. And they seem happy, so that was dope. But what I was thinking about as far as like what topic to talk about, I was thinking about, you know, Gucci's glow up, and like the glow up of, you know, the TIs, I would throw Hove in there, as far as not necessarily like he glowed up overnight, or he evolved overnight, but you know, it's been a long process of, he started out being kind of Money Cash Hoes as far as like earlier solo stuff, and then because he's been out since like the mid 80s, so he's been in the circles of a Big Daddy Kane, who else, just like the East Coast rappers of that era, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And he's been a fixture of that. But as far as his own solo project dropping, you know, that didn't happen until like 95, 96. So he's been around for a while. But anyway, I would throw Hove in there. I said Gucci, T.I., Hove. I saw, so you know what? Okay, I'll say this. Like, this was funny. I saw like a meme. It was Hove with Beyonce, 2 Chainz with his girlfriend. I don't think they're married. They haven't gotten married yet. Gucci with Keisha, and it was somebody random as hell. Like, it wasn't somebody that fit into what they were trying to, the message they were trying to convey. The message was like, you listen to all these guys talk about hoes, and then they got married. They lied to you, and you believed them, something like that. And I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And there's some truth to that. I think Hove got better about it later on. 2 Chainz, he's kind of doing the same thing as far as like talking about you know, thoughts or hoes, whatever you want to say. And Gucci kind of doing the same thing. And I forgot who the other guy was, but he didn't fit the mold. It's kind of like Common. Like he was a Common-esque to me. He kind of was closer to that end of the spectrum than he was of like a Hove or Gucci or, you know, Chainz. Like, how the hell are you gonna put them in the same category, like that person and the rest of those guys in the same category? Because he didn't represent that. But anyway, I thought that was interesting because, you know, it goes into like another part of my conversation that you know, this subject that I'm gonna go into later on. But anyway, yeah, Gucci got married. I was like, yo, really? Gucci? And that made me think how incredible it was that, you know, he realized at a certain point in his life where he needed to evolve. It was like, yo, I'm gonna either end up, you know, in prison for the rest of my life. I'm gonna overdose. You know, I may get into it with another rapper or whomever and like end up shooting them or them shooting me. And I need to just clean up my act. And I respect the fact that he had enough self-awareness to understand that that was the path he was going, and he had to completely change it up. But I honestly, I was a non-believer in the power of transformation as far as when it came to Gucci, specifically Gucci, I will say, because Gucci was, in my opinion, as kind of ratchet, ignorant, whatever you want to call it, as rapper could be. And I was very like, yo, this dude is like, seems like this dude's always high or drunk or high and drunk. I don't know what the verb would be for explaining somebody on lean. Would it be a mixture of high and drunk? Because you're drinking something, and there's a depressant high that happens, or a depressant it wouldn't be a high, it'd be a low, I guess. A depressant, like, calm and mellowing of your, you know, of your energy and your mood or whatever. But yeah, he would always be on some type of drugs every time I saw him, like, do an interview, or, you know, even listening to his music, man. His voice, the way he articulated was like completely, you know, incoherent. I could barely understand. He slurred his words a lot. Now there's, you know, you have like RZA, he has like a lisp. You have a Coogee Rap, he has a lisp. You have certain rappers that have lisps. Always, like, it's hard for me to pronounce lisp, but like you have lisp and lisps. Okay, yeah, I think that last one was fine enough. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, he had like a very like lazy tongued type of rapping style, and it made it very hard to listen to, because I was just like, oh man, God, what is this guy saying? And is he drunk? What's going on? And you know, some people were really into that his sound specifically, or just that, you know, Atlanta trap. Not necessarily the easiest to understand, but it's more about the energy. It's more about the vibe of the subject matter they were talking about. And, you know, I get it. It's not always based on heavy lyricism, or it's not necessarily based on even you being able to understand every single syllable the rapper's saying. But I just, I didn't really understand them. So I was kind of like, I'm good. And I first song I heard from him, I actually liked. I'm so icy. Yeah, it was Gucci featuring Jeezy, and we kind of know how how that relationship went off the rails, if you will. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of him, and I kind of looked at him as like somebody that's gonna be you know, a rapper like a DMX-esque, I hate saying that, but a DMX-esque rapper that has well, I didn't necessarily think he had a potential, but has the opportunity to make a career out of rap, but he's blowing it because he's always getting high, he's always getting into altercations, he's always saying crazy stuff in the public, which Gucci has gone on like numerous Twitter rants and stuff, and I just didn't really see a bright future for Gucci. And I had discussions with that were like, oh yeah, I don't think Gucci gonna make it out of that, because we honestly felt like Gucci wasn't really gonna pull out of it. And then when T.I. got caught with on weapons charges, and then he had another incident after he got probation, I think it might have been due to like marijuana possession, and he ended up having to do, I want to say like a year. Excuse me, I burped. It's funny when you burp in the middle of sentences. You're like, I'm gonna make a profound point, and then where did that come from? But anyway, yeah, like T.I. ended up catching, having to do time for the weapons charges, and then getting out, and then ended up, since he was on probation, breaking his probation or whatever, and ended up having to do more time. I didn't necessarily think that T.I. was gonna make it out of that situation. Well, make it out of that pattern of behavior. Because let's be clear, it is a pattern of behavior. You have the choice to, work hard, be focused on your career, be focused on, if you have kids. I have one kid, so I could be. I'm focused on my son. Be focused on productive things, or you can hang around seedy people that may have drugs, may have guns, may have different type of like illegal paraphernalia, and be involved in that, where you can put yourself at risk, you put your freedom at risk, you put your safety at risk, and f up the bag basically, and get locked up or get killed. And I feel like T.I. did that, and I feel like, of course, Gucci, who's basically like the center of this segment right now that I'm talking about. But anyway, Gucci, man, there was so many incidents that I heard about Gucci, and I wasn't even I didn't pay attention to Gucci like that. It was just like, you see stuff on maybe, I saw something on Vlad TV. Interview about him on Vlad. I heard stuff from friends that listen to Gucci, and it was like, oh man, Gucci killed somebody because they were trying to kick in his door and take his money and all that or whatever. Gucci went on his Twitter rant. Gucci he's on lean and stuff. He gained a whole bunch of weight, and if you could find somebody more self-destructive, maybe DMX, then I would like to. Well, I wouldn't like to meet them, but I'd be curious to know what their arc is gonna be, what the arc of the story is gonna be with them. But yeah, Gucci was just effing up a lot, to the point where I didn't think he was gonna pull out of that. He was there was turbulence, the plane was going down, and then all of a sudden he got locked up. I'm like, the plane is about to impact into the earth, and then all of a sudden he comes out. He's lost a whole bunch of weight. He's smiling. He's looking chipper and stuff. I'm like, hold on, wait. It's like the plane just stopped. In my mind, the plane stopped. I'm like, that nigga gotta be a clone. He gotta be a clone. I'll just play. No, I didn't think that. But I did think that, I was like, wow, yo, he is working out. He looks healthy. His teeth, like, this guy's teeth are whiter than like Irish people, like Norwegian people, like that pale, pasty, you never get sunlight, that type of like color. And I was just like, yo, and no diss, but Northern European people have some very fair skin. Let's be clear. But yeah, he had like a very white smile and looked very healthy. Uh, and it was just like, oh, okay. And then I kind of like put in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, I don't really, not really into his music anyway, so I'm not gonna listen to any of his stuff. And then my man drops freaking East Atlanta Santa. East Atlanta Santa. Now from the outset, it's the song seems like it would be corny because it was like something that came out close to the winter time. Used the freaking Jingle Bells music is sampled in the song, and it just seems like it would be corny as shit. And then he's like, pulled up in the winter, I pulled up with a hunt, and I was like, and he was going on it, man. Dude was going like, yo, and I could understand every word he was saying. That's the thing. It was like clarity to how he was rapping, a lot of clarity. So I was just like dumbfounded with that. But yeah, it's like you had the legal issues he had. It's kind of like he's turned that around seemingly, because he hasn't gotten in trouble so far. He has dropped, if I'm not mistaken, he's at least dropped like 3 albums since he's been out. Because he had the East Atlanta Santa album. I don't know if it was called East Atlanta Santa, but I know East Atlanta Santa was a song on there. He had Drop Top WAP. And mind you, I've only heard East Atlanta Santa, and he's dropped Drop Top WAP, and he just dropped Mr. Davis. So he has like 3 albums that I know of. He could have another one. He could have another one. He just like kind of snuck in there, like, oh, I'm gonna like drop this, and you know, it just isn't like on my radar. But he's dropped 3 albums. He has this is how I know like Gucci's getting on a whole nother level, and he put so many dudes on from Atlanta. Like basically, he damn near has some type of tie with every artist, every really popping artist in Atlanta. He has a tie with them, like some type of like 6 degrees of separation type shit. Like whether you talk about Lil Yachty, you talk about Migos. Like he worked with Migos before Migos was Migos. Who else? I'm thinking, you know what? I'm so like fucking old school hip hop head. I'm thinking all lyrical people. I'm thinking of Sci-Hi the Prince. I'm thinking of Nick Grant, and I don't know if he has ties with them. I think T.I. has ties with Nick Grant because I think the co-founder of Grant Hustle manages Nick Grant. But anyway, I'm trying to think of some other cats, man. Only ones I really can think of right now are like Lil Yachty and Migos. But if he doesn't, like, he has a lot of there's Waka Flocka. I don't know if Waka Flocka has dropped it. I think he's about to drop Flockavelli too, or whatever. But he's about to drop a project, and he's been dropping EDM projects. I don't know if he has dropped one out, a project recently. But anyway, let's see. Young Thug is another one. I forgot that. But anyway, he has connections with. Hold on now. It literally sounds like somebody's hitting a car or doing something. I hope it ain't one of them badass kids. Okay, y'all know y'all got them in y'all neighborhood too. Okay, but anyway, yeah, Gucci has like connections with most of the artists in Atlanta, and for a lot of them he had the opportunity to sign them. He was just so in a drug haze that he couldn't make clear and smart decisions business wise. But I know he had signed Young Thug, but when he went to prison, he kind of released Young Thug, so Young Thug could do his thing, and he wasn't going to hold him in a contract, which I respect, of course. That's a good way of doing business. You're not on some Birdman shit where you're like, I'm going to keep him I'm gonna keep him in this contract forever, and I'm not paying, I'm not gonna compensate him in the right way. But yeah, also that Gucci Mane has inspired, or influenced is a better word, influenced a lot of current rappers. I know Bibby has cited Gucci as an influence. Young Thug, of course, is cited. Migos, to a degree, they have cited like Gucci as far as like opening doors. I want to say it was the East Coast artist that you wouldn't think that was inspired by Gucci. That was like Gucci, Gucci's that dude. I know G Herbo said Gucci was an influence too. But there's a lot of new generation rappers that have been heavily influenced by Gucci. And also getting into something else Gucci's doing. I saw Gucci being interviewed by Malcolm Gladwell. If you don't know who Malcolm Gladwell is, he's a very influential writer as far as I guess you can call him like kind of a self-help. I can't think of a better word than self-help guru in a sense to describe the types of books he writes. But he writes self-help books you can apply to your life to improve your quality of life, to improve potentially business decisions, stuff like that. He's a very, very good writer. I've read one of his books. I've read The Tipping Point. That was great book. But anyway, he was getting interviewed by Malcolm Gladwell. We're talking about like one of the most popular authors of his generation, I would say. I was trying not to be like oversell him and be like, oh, he's the most influential writer of his generation. I don't know, maybe he is, but kind of one of the more popular writers of his generation. And he was, he interviewed fairly well, and it was just like he had so much clarity and so much insight on the flaws that he made during his career and in his life, and also what positive and what productive things he has done for others as well as himself. And it's amazing to see that kind of that arc of progression and evolution that Gucci has gone through. So and he also is releasing a book. I don't know if it's an autobiography or if it's I don't know kind of the nature of the book, but I know it's called Mr. Davis, so I would assume that it's I think it's called Mr. Davis. I'm not sure. I know his album's called Mr. Davis. I want to say his book is titled the same, and titled the same as the album, but I could be wrong. Correct me on that if I am. But anyway, he came off very intelligent as far as his interview with Malcolm Gladwell, and that's incredible. And I also want to give like shout outs to T.I., Hove, like people that I feel like glowed up. But I feel like Gucci's evolution is so incredible. It is so incredible, and for me, I would have never seen it coming. But then also on the other hand, I'm gonna save. I wanted to like elaborate on how incredible Gucci's glow up is, but I'm gonna save that for. That's gonna kind of go into my like wrap up part of this segment. But anyway, on the other end of the spectrum, you have guys like Kevin Gates, and you have guys like DMX, who I feel like, even though DMX just got out of rehab, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, however long it's been. I think that in recent time, DMX has made a lot of mistakes, but yeah, Kevin Gates and DMX. Kevin Gates has, kind of, he had already been making bad decisions, and then he had a point where, he was really starting to get popular, and then, the whole kicking the chick in the chest during a concert. Yo, talk about a bad decision, a really bad decision. That's the worst decision you could ever make. It's like, I'm performing at a concert. Yeah. Oh, this chick's trying to grab my, his excuse was she's trying to grab my dick. I told her no, and she didn't do it. She didn't stop. I kicked her in the chest. And chicks doing that, like the decision, like the options of decisions you can make, in my opinion, it's kind of like, yo, security, get her. Security. Come on. Anybody? Does anybody see this? I told her stop. Like, he could have said that. He could have just, like, maybe slapped her hand or something. He could have just backed up, pointed at her, and then been like, yo, audience, y'all see this shit? Like, you embarrassing yourself, chick. You looking thirsty. Like, he could have just shamed her, and then, like, he could have literally not even slap her hand, but just, like, shame her. And he could have ended it there, and he just decided that, nah, I'm gonna kick her in the chest. And I don't understand that, though, that that reasoning, but it is what it is. And of course, DMX with his drug problems, which are like known, just like public record basically, of like the countless amounts of like run-ins he's had with the law. But I definitely want to see those two guys win. And anybody just struggling, I want to see people that go through obstacles win, especially the underdog, especially a Kevin Gates, especially a DMX. I want to see them win, because it shows me that personally, for me, that I can win. Anytime I underestimate my ability to overcome certain situations, or to just endure a failure. If I fail at something, I'm like, how am I going to recover from this? If you see like Kevin Gates or DMX, or like I even said, Gucci's the best example. If Gucci can overcome, anybody can overcome. So that's how I feel about that. But anyway, yeah. Another thing, just to kind of like lead up into me wrapping this whole conversation up, is what does this mean for hip hop aging in the culture? Like, I would love to hear people's feedback or their response to that question. Like, what do you think? And I'm gonna tell you what I think. What I think it means for hip hop, I think it means like when you have somebody like a Jeezy making a 444, you're gonna get more rappers making kind of, in a sense, age appropriate music. I'm not saying that you have to like make everything has to be geared to, okay, if you're in your 40s, you have to talk about serious issues. Nah, I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying, like, you have rappers that may have talked about, like, being with multiple women, doing drugs, selling drugs, fancy cars and all that stuff. By the time you get to 40, if you've been a rapper as long as, like, a Jay-Z, he can't talk about, like, fly cars and, bad chicks in every record, because that's not his life anymore. He's married to Beyonce. He has 3 kids. He has multiple businesses, and it wouldn't even be believable. Especially he's getting up in age now. It definitely isn't believable. It's kind of like, yeah, you're like 50 on the block. How'd that work? Like, you got arthritis in your hip, and you running from the poles and stuff. You running from the ops. Okay, we'll buy that, I guess. Not really. But yeah, it gives the lane of rappers to evolve, rappers to talk about different subjects, rappers to, and not even in a maturity type of way, but just creatively, you get to talk about you can talk about getting older and opening up different businesses and different artistic avenues, as far as if you like we talk about anime, we talk about comics, we talk about different films and stuff. A rapper could put that in their subject matter. A rapper could talk about, I went to this country and I've explored the history of this country. I've explored different philosophical avenues, different sciences, different just different subject matters, man. Like, I feel like you're gonna have so much more interesting music than if it's like you get to this age, we don't want to hear from you. I think that, that was holding hip hop back a lot. Just like the non-inclusion of people from the LGBT community, the non-inclusion of, not having as many popular women. Because I just saw something on Cardi B, and they were talking about, some people were saying like, oh, all these guys are supporting Cardi B. We have an issue with that, but you're not supporting Remy Ma as much as you're supporting Cardi B. You're not supporting Rhapsody as much as you're supporting Cardi B. But I think that is an issue in hip hop. The non-inclusion of women. So I think once you have certain barriers broken down like that, then you're gonna have more interesting music. And also for the culture, I think the culture grows, the culture evolves, the culture can be more diverse, and more diversity equals more jobs equals monetarily we're gonna profit from the culture we created, and as we should. And shout out to Henny, because I know Henny, that's a big thing on his agenda as far as pushing the idea of we're the creators and we're the originators of pop culture, of what is popular in culture, then we should profit from it. And I agree, I totally agree with that. Wrap up. Gucci Mane is the focal point of this segment, but the overall message to anybody listening is that you can evolve, and you don't necessarily have to. I was gonna say you have to evolve. If you don't evolve, then you're gonna automatically die. No, you don't have to evolve, but you're not gonna see anything else. You're not gonna learn anything else. You're not gonna grow. If you don't evolve, then you're stagnant. And do you want to be the same person at 20 or the same person at 50 that you are at 20? You don't, because that's kind of lame. But you should want to evolve, and especially my hip hop heads out there, whether you're into Lil Uzi Vert or you're into Rakim, evolve. Learn to evolve. If you don't know like how to get to where your I guess ideal self, or your ideal what's the sociological word for it, or the psychological word for it, your looking glass self, or your how you want to be as opposed to who you are. And I strive every day to try to get to that place. And sometimes I fail miserably, and sometimes I succeed at taking small steps towards that. But anyway, strive for that. Plan. If you got to write it down, like I want to do this, I want to accomplish this at this year, or I want to accomplish this in 5 years, or I want to accomplish this in 10 years. I want to open up a business. I want to start a website where they sell decorative frisbees or something. I don't know, whatever you want to do. Just put that into motion. Plan it out. Make that a priority. Don't make these trivial things such as Twitter and Facebook, or how many followers you have, how many people like your pictures, whether or not some of your friends are supporting you. Don't make that a priority. If they're your friend, they will support you. If they're not your friend, get rid of them fuckers, man. Like, dead serious. I'm trying to keep the cussing down, man. I've been like mindful of that, but I just had to say that. But yeah, you just make sure that you're living for you, and you're living in your truth. Shout out to Ayanla for that quote, living in your truth. But that's the biggest thing. And don't let what is the norm or what has become the norm be your norm. If that's not what you want to be or who you want to be, then work towards becoming that person. And that is about it. Shout out to everybody that listens to Freeform. We appreciate immensely your listeningship. It wouldn't be a viewership, but it'd be listeningship. I just made that up. I made that word up. You love it. You know you do. But your listeningship, because you don't have to listen to us. We're just three black guys, three semi-young black guys. I just turned 31, so I consider myself a little young. And we appreciate your listening to us. You don't have to. We definitely want your feedback. I want you to tell me what you think about this segment. Tell me what you think about subjects I'm coming up with, because I'm trying to come up with a lot more content for you guys, entertain you. Also, maybe I can give you some words of insight. But anyway, this is Tez. Subscribe to Freeform Podcast. You can hit me up at Tez the Great at Mars Brooks. And that's it. Deuces. Love you guys.